The first coach up is Illinois head coach Matt Bollant. Coach Bollant is entering his first season at Illinois and boasts an overall record of 282-55. He spent the last 5 years at Green Bay, leading the Phoenix to 4 straight NCAA tournament appearances. The Illini returned 9 letter winners, including 4 starters from last year's squad. Coach? We'll start with an opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you. Really excited to be here, excited to be in the Big Ten, and just so fortunate to have an amazing staff and a staff that were so together and so talented, and then inherited a team that was really open and trusting. I think if you want to sum up kind of our spring and fall, look at the transformation in Charisma Penn. From when we got there, with her work ethic, her drive, her desire to lead and do things the right way, when we got there compared to now, it's just an absolute worlds apart. And we've had, I don't know how many practices, 14, 15 practices, and she's been our best defender, our hardest worker in just about every one of those practices. And we challenged her to do that. When your best players are your hardest workers, you got a chance to overachieve, and that's what we're believing is going to happen this year. Really excited to get back to practice tonight and get better, and we're taking it one day at a time. But we have a system that will fit our athleticism, and we're going to play very quickly, very aggressively, and play similar to what we did at Green Bay, but even a little bit faster and more aggressively. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. At this time, we'll open the floor for questions.
Coach, you mentioned overachieving. I mean, isn't it possible that you do have a good bit of talent and that you could really have a pretty good season?
Yeah, certainly that's one of the things I looked at in the job is what's the returning talent and how does it fit your system? You know, we're a switching team. We'll switch 1 through 5. We want to play really quickly, run, dribble, motion. So yeah, we inherited some very talented players, some players that have a high level of athleticism and just need to be taught, you know, how to be fundamentally sound, how to play from triple threat, how to pass with their feet on the floor. And so we're certainly excited. And it's certainly something that drew me to the job over some other possibilities was the returning talent.
Hi, Coach. What's the biggest adjustments you've found so far, moving from Green Bay up to the, to Illinois, and what's your challenge in recruiting for a program that hasn't been as successful as in recent years?
Yeah, it's been kind of what we'd hoped for in the recruiting. Honestly, the class that we have, we'll sign here in November, is every bit probably more talented than any of the classes we ever had at Green Bay. And that's kind of why coaches leave the mid-major level. And I get that question a lot. Why would you leave a program that's ranked in the top 15 in the country 3 years in a row? And really, it's about the recruiting. If we're ranked in the top 10 in the country at Illinois, which we believe, that's where we're headed, then we can go after any recruit in the country. Here at Green Bay, we still had to wait to see what the Big Ten schools. We didn't ever. I think we beat a Big Ten school one time on a player in my 5 years there, and a lot of times we beat them in the court, but we couldn't beat them in recruiting. And so that's why you leave. And the recruiting's gone extremely well. We have a transfer, Sarah Hartwell from Georgia Tech. I believe is going to be a star in our program. She has to sit out this year, but as a 4-star kid coming out of high school, kid that at Green Bay, we don't get Sarah Hartwell. And now we go to Illinois, and her AAU coach calls me and tells me this is the most athletic kid ever coached, and he's had 50 Division I players. So pretty exciting. And then I guess the biggest adjustment would just be a different team, and teaching from the beginning. The cultures at Green Bay were so strong. If anybody watched us practice, they say you'd practice as hard as any team in the country, day in and day out, and teaching those cultures at Illinois. But our kids have bought in. They've given us their hearts and their trust, and they've done extremely well in trying to build those cultures.
When you look at the names of the players as the top players in the conference, to me, one is obviously missing, and that's Charisma, and maybe that's because she's underperformed. But I mean, do you feel like at the end of this season, she's going to be right there with a Player of the Year, just with her rebounding numbers and her scoring and her field goal percentage abilities?
Absolutely. And where she was at this spring, she may not have been deserving of being on that top 8. Where she's at right now, she's one of the best players in our league. There's absolutely no reason why she can't be a first-team All-Big Ten player and lead our team offensively, defensively. I believe she's a WNBA prospect, and I think she'll lead us and be extremely good in every aspect of the game. If you watch her, she can guard point guards. we'll switch, and she'll guard our quickest point guards, and she might be our second best on-ball defender, and then she can block shots and rebound, run the floor, and do everything. But certainly, yeah, she wasn't on that list, and I'm disappointed for her. But I think what matters is who's on the end of the year list, and that's where I believe she'll be.
Aside from charisma, are there any other players that you were maybe surprised about or have going to show a lot of improvement this year?
Yeah, when I got there, the point guard position was a concern. They graduated Lydia McCauley and didn't really have much for a backup point guard last year. When Lydia rotated out, the tapes I watched, they really struggled at the point. But Alexis Smith has come in and gotten in great shape. She'll be our starting point guard, and she'll be a really good point guard in the Big Ten. I think if you look at a reason why this team is going to be transformed and be night and day better than what they were last year, I think Charisma Penn buying in, and then also the point guard play. Alexis is as fast and as strong as probably any point guard in the country, and I think the combination of her speed and strength, there's a lot of point guards that are really, really quick, but very, very few that have her strength and ability to finish at the rim. And she's going to be able to get to the rim. We're going to run our dribble motion and play really fast, and she's going to be a big part of that. So though probably her adjustment. I think our fans, she didn't play much last year and she wasn't very effective. She's going to go from not playing to be one of the best sophomore point guards in the conference, and we believe one of the best point guards around.
Just how will you define success this year in your first season?
We're talking about getting better every day, and for us, we want to be a different basketball team at the end of this week that we were last week. We've done that the first 3 weeks of practice. We've been a much better basketball team at the end of the week, and hopefully at the end of each day. We were a better basketball team yesterday at the end of practice than we were to start, and just growing each and every day. John Wooden said the worst thing you can think about in basketball is losing. The next worst thing you can think about is winning. We don't want to get caught up in the end results. We want to get caught up in getting better every day, learning to play as hard as any team in the country, learning to play as together as anybody, and learning to play as smart as anybody. And when we do that, success will follow.
Big picture, where do you think this Illinois program can go, and what's your timetable? I want to be in the top 3 NCAAs. Is all this something that you think is doable?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't take another job, and I had some other opportunities, great opportunities, and obviously Green Bay returning five seniors to this year's team, and probably should be the most talented they've ever been. So you don't leave that unless you believe it can happen at Illinois and happen fast. Our depth is a concern this year, but besides that, we believe we can be great this year and have a great first year, play in the postseason, and go from there. But obviously there's challenges ahead. We got to get better every day, but we really believe this is going to happen fast for us.
One last question for Coach.
Just as an outsider before this year, just your impressions of the league. Now, obviously with Nebraska in, but just kind of your thoughts about where the Big Ten's at right now and where maybe it needs to go.
Yeah, obviously we played 6 Big Ten teams the last 2 years at Green Bay and had great success. But at the same time, I really feel like the league's going to take a jump. The men's conference is the #1 in the country. The volleyball is the #1 in the country. I don't see any reason why women's basketball can't take a jump. I don't think we're going to be the Big 12 this year, but why can't we challenge to be the #2 conference? I think the coaches are very good. The talent is good, and I think it's going to get better. I think the Big Ten network is a huge plus for our conference, and I think to get 7 teams in the league in the tournament last year is a great success. Now we need to win in the NCAA tournaments and have teams advance to the Final Four, and hopefully that's where the league is going. But I think it's a very bright future for the women's basketball in the Big Ten.